Hello everybody, this is Tim Ross, President of Mudlick Mail. We've got a lot of folks logging on today for this new webinar. It's Top Shop Marketing with Greg Sands, focusing on customer acquisition and retention. We're going to get started here in about 10 minutes. We signed on a little early today because we had such a large amount of people that are signing on, so hang in there with me. I've got everybody in a listen-only mode, and we'll be getting this thing started here in just a few minutes. Thanks so much for your time. Hello everybody, this is Tim Ross, President of Mudlick Mail. We've got about 6 more minutes before we get started, but we're going to be doing the Top Shop Marketing with Greg Sands, talking about customer acquisition and retention. We have got lots of people signing on, so just hang in there with me, guys. You're at the right spot. Everybody's in a mute only, or listen only mode, muted, so I'll be back in touch with you guys shortly here. It's 3:54 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to get this thing started here in just a few minutes. Thanks so much, and hang in there with me. Hey guys, this is Tim Ross again, President of Mudlick Mail. We've got about 4 minutes here before we get started. We have a lot of people signing on. We're here to talk about Top Shop Marketing, Customer Acquisition and Retention with Greg Sands. Hang in there. I've got you guys in listen-only mode. We're going to we've got hundreds of people lined up actually signed up for this event. So we are going to start on time, but we have about 3 or 4 more minutes here, and we'll get started. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. It should say Top Shop Marketing, Mudlick Mail, the direct mail experts, customer acquisition and retention. We're going to set it up, guys, where if you guys have a question, because there's so many of you, that I just need you guys to actually type in your question in the question box there for the webinar and send it over to me, and then we will try to incorporate that within the slides in the discussion. If not, there will be a question and answer session at the very end, and I will try to round up Greg to do answer as many of the questions as we can. If for some reason we can't get to all the questions, there'll be a link at the very end at info@mudlickmail.com where you guys can send stuff to us, and Greg will be happy to respond back to you guys as fast as he can. So hang in there with us, guys, just a couple more minutes while everybody gets logged on, and we'll get started. Thanks so much. Hey guys, this is Tim Ross, President of Mudlick Mail. I've got Greg Sands here with me. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We'd like to start right on time. You're here for the Top Shop Marketing webinar for customer acquisition and retention. We're going to spend about 45 minutes talking about how we can acquire and retain customers, some of the mistakes that are commonly made, typical needs for repair shops in regards to car count and average ticket. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the myths out there, what's going on in the industry, and how you guys can track and measure everything. So it is critical these days where every marketing dollar counts, and there's a lot of changes going on in the industry, that we're properly advertising, we're properly tracking, we're properly holding ourselves and our staff accountable. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how does Greg do that at his shops. For those of you who don't know Greg, we're going to introduce him here in a couple of minutes, but it's 4 o'clock now, guys. I know we're going to have a lot of people coming on board here in just a couple of minutes. They're signing on like crazy as we speak, but we do like to start on time, so we're going to go ahead and get this thing kick-started. For those of you who just joined us, I've got everybody on mute. You're in a listen-only mode. There's just way too many people to have it open. What I would ask you to do is if you have a question, or a comment, if you could just simply type that in the webinar box there on your screen and send it over to me. We'll review the question, and we will get to as many of those as we possibly can. Any questions that we don't get to, we'll definitely, I'll try to round Greg up and have him answer those questions, and we'll email that back to you guys, okay? So we look forward to getting this kicked off again. Today we're going to be talking about Top Shop Marketing, customer acquisition and retention. My name is Tim Ross. I'm President of Mudlick Mail. With us today is Greg Sands. For those of you who haven't met Greg, he is sold over $1 billion in sales in his 25-year career in the automotive repair industry. He owns several locations in 6 states. At one point, I think he had well over 40-some locations before he made that multi-million-dollar acquisition deal with Meineke. He has facilitated $75 million auto repair real estate transactions so far, and I think that number is growing as he moves into different parts of different businesses. And he had in the past has been the largest independent Goodyear dealer at doing $45 million a year. For those of you who don't know me, Tim Ross, president of Mudlick Mail. We work with over 2,000 customers nationwide in U.S. and Canada. We work with over about 8,000 small businesses, though, each year. We have 100 million direct mail mailers that we distribute over the United States and Canada. And so we're real excited to get started. Greg, I want to welcome you aboard and thank you for participating today.
Well, I'm excited to be here. This is my favorite topic because it's the one that takes a lot of pressure off of me as a shop owner. There's really only 2 areas that shop owners focus on, or should focus on, which is either car count, right, or ticket average. And so as an owner, your 100% focus should be on taking care of cars. In other words, making the cars count. And unfortunately, what I've seen with my friends out there is that they spend a lot of time jacking with their marketing or doing different things, and so they always have a car count problem. And so what I hope today is to clear up some of the confusion and tell people exactly what I do, and it works in 6 states. This year is another record year for us. If you're not up significantly in car count, then there's probably something that I talk about today that might help you. So I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to get rolling.
All right, guys. Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a question, rather than raise your hand, if you guys could type in anything that you have, any questions for me, and I will be happy to get to them as quick as I can. Again, we have hundreds of people on this particular call, and we'll get to as many as we can. But we are going to try to get through about 45 minutes. We'll try to answer the questions as we go along. And then if you have some additional questions that come up at the end that we don't get to, we'll certainly help them at the end. So again, thanks everybody. You're in a listen-only mode. Greg, let's get started here. Let's talk a little bit about the different things today are going to really be about the auto repair industry. We're going to talk a little bit about the marketing strategy and tactics, setting a budget, timeline, determining what's right for you, and then again at the end we're going to try to leave at least about 10 minutes to talk about some questions that people might have. Let's start out a little bit about the industry, because I know everybody's got issues with technicians, and there's a lot of new car sales going on right now. Can you spend just a couple of minutes giving us a little bit of kind of rationale why we never stop marketing?
Well, one of the most encouraging things is that our industry is really growing. If you look, even though there's record car sales, and I've talked about that in the past at Mudstock and some of the other conventions, the average car is still 11.4 years old. That's amazing, especially when you go back in time and look at, what was considered to be old was maybe 8 or 9 years, just a decade ago. But there is a big problem, and that's demand, the technician demand, and I think sometime we need to have a webinar on that. But I will tell you, technicians can really decide where they're going to work, and 10 out of 10 technicians prefer to work in a busy shop. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a shop owner that's not got a good system of supplying plenty of cars for their technicians, those technicians, even the loyal ones, will be tempted to go away and go somewhere else. So marketing your shop has a lot to do with turnover in your stores. It has a lot to do with having good, solid technicians in your store as well. So the cool thing here, if you look, independent auto sales will continue to outpace dealership auto sales. When I got in the automotive business 25 years ago, there was about 10,000 more dealerships back then than there are today. If you look at, a lot of dealerships got wiped out in the last 7 or 8 years. And so we're in a great time. Now there's a lot of competition amongst ourselves with national chains. And I had to deal with that back in the early 90s, but it was with oil companies. Now we're looking at big multi-chain companies that we're having to compete against. So we have a great answer for that. I'll tell people what I'm doing. The goal is to just make it as clear as I can. This is what I'm doing, take it or leave it. If you want to do it, great. If you want to mess with the recipe, I can't guarantee that it's going to work. Because if I could cut something, I would cut it.
Well, and one of the advantages that we have is that Mudlick Mail is we really care about you guys' success. And the fortunate thing we have is Greg's Average stores are all multi-million-dollar. They're all $1 million plus stores. They have been. They're very profitable. So if we can share some nuggets of information, sometimes that might require a little bit of change, and change can be painful occasionally. But guys, this is not pie in the sky stuff. The stuff you're learning today is real. We have hundreds of customers that are also equally successful, that are many that are on this webinar. So let's move forward then and talk a little bit about the marketing strategy, Greg. I know these kind of key things here that you focus in on each one of your stores. Can you elaborate a little bit then on the overall marketing strategies in regards to these points?
Yeah, and a lot of this I'll take care of for everybody today by just establishing what I'm doing and what my other partners are doing out there. So it'll make it very easy. But and we'll talk about mistakes in a minute, but one of the things that's real important is establishing your goals, and what goals make sense. For example, if you're struggling out there, if you're down 15-20%, and suddenly you think next month you're going to be up 10 or 15%, that may not be realistic. But could you get up where you're up, or down 10% the next month, even the next month, up 5 or 10%? That's a more realistic way to set your goals. Probably one of the biggest things for me is knowing your market potential. And what market potential is, is that if you look, and this is really how I went after the big chains, and I could dominate the big chains. I knew that when I deal with it today. I have shops that open up every day, and I'm up against the billion-dollar companies out there. The nice thing about that is they don't spend their $1 billion around your store. They spend a small percentage of their ad budget around your store if they have a store there. So I know that 85% of my customers are going to come from about a 2-mile, 2.5-mile radius. We also know that that's about exactly where they come almost everywhere across the country, with the exception of really rural areas. In really rural areas, you don't have the national chains to go up against for the most part. So if I dominate the 2-mile area around my store, and what I mean by dominate, it isn't mailing 5,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces. It's just mailing the right number that meets your total market potential. I don't want to go into a month where I'm only marketing to half of my market potential, and that's kind of nutty when you think about it. If you put a store in a certain place, you want to make sure you dominate that. So, and then the diversity is really, what's the good mix of, online, how much should you spend, how much should you spend in direct mail, in Facebook and Twitter. There's a lot of places now that we didn't have to worry about 15 years ago. And how do you divide that money up so that you get the best bang for your buck? And then we always set a calendar. Our calendar, we set it because we want to make sure that we're in front of our customers every single month, not every other month, not once a quarter, because what you'll find is if you're not in front of your customers, your competitors are. You want to apply pressure. And anybody that has lived around one of my stores, or if you're a Mudlick Mail customer, you probably see a Mudlick direct mail ad every single month. Well, we live by that standard in all of our companies. We don't tell shop owners one thing and then we do another. We are big believers in trying to dominate every single month in our business. So we'll get more into this. We always measure our business. Once we get that refined, we just do the same thing over and over again. We make small adjustments when we see that we need to, but you don't try to change all your ads every month. You want a consistent theme out there so that you don't every month try, well, this month it's Valentine's Day, we're going to have a pink ad. Those are kind of silly things that may make you feel good, but that's really not the intent. The intent is to be in front of your customer on a consistent basis with a consistent message.
All right, guys, and I tell you, we're going to go in a little bit more detail as you go along here. I will tell you, as I mentioned earlier, guys, with all the folks on here, I've got you guys on listen-only mode. If you have some questions, feel free to email those in, and we'll get to them as many as we can. A lot of the questions I think we're going to answer as we go through this presentation. Greg, let's talk about how the different methods you use for acquiring new customers, and then some of the mistakes that you see out there, because I know you're in hundreds of shops throughout the year. Some of them are your shops. Many, many, many are our customers that have asked you to come out. Let's talk a little bit about how do we bring people in? What's the different types of mechanisms out there? Because I know there's good and bad for every industry. Let's talk a little bit more about what's good for us.
Well, one, all types of marketing for the most part work. What confuses people, and it's confused me, is that not all of it works for the right type of customer. And so I'll go through these and I'll explain as well as I can why I do what I do. But you should always have a good online presence, and you're going to get a good return on online presence. I use a company, and full disclosure that I'm an investor in, that's called Kukui, that handles my website, my SEO, my pay-per-click. But you can use other companies as well. I just happen to really like them. But some people use Demandforce. There's a ton of companies out there that you can use. But just remember that, and most of you know this right now, if you were anything like me, I thought when this online stuff got going that was going to be my answer. If you look at the evolution that I've been through, when I got into the business, it was who had the best Yellow Page ad. And today, you'd be better served not to have. I haven't had a Yellow Page ad in 15 years. So, I like a website, but SEO, just so you know, which is more the organic search, that was a good deal, but the online stuff moves so fast that now if you notice, if you look up auto repair, what you'll find is Google, who's the main, the 800-pound gorilla, they sell more and more of the pay-per-click. So what you're seeing is less and less SEO on the first page of a word, of a
web page.
Yeah, of a web page. So, and then the other problem you have is that if you're an independent, now I'm still an independent, my name's not going to be as well known as Firestone or Goodyear or Tires Plus. And so, my brand is going to be on the same page as all these multi-billion-dollar companies. Well, that's like you having an off-brand Coke and you're on a page with Coca-Cola. I'm sorry, but they're going to win. You're going to get some clicks, but not as much as the national chains are going to get. So you're at a big disadvantage. We do SEO work, but that's not the cure-all. Same deal with pay-per-clicks. We have, and you can definitely get with Mudlick Mail to get the list of pay-per-clicks that we do. But I'll tell you what I look for is I look for the same as I do in my direct mail. I want a 3-to-1 return. My only beef with online is I get a good return. There's just not enough of it. And that is my point with direct mail. You got to have it. It'll give you a good return. But I've yet to meet anybody out there that says, oh yeah, we're just blown out because of all the people coming in off of our online. So that will never be the holy grail that I thought it was going to be, because there's just not enough people within a 2-mile radius of your store that needs auto repair in any one time and that happens to look for it on the website. So, or online. What you end up having with, if you do direct mail leads them to type in your website. So if somebody gets a direct mail piece, they will type in your website to get more information if they're interested, or they may just call off the direct mail. But so I strongly believe in having a good website and using pay-per-click and SEO, but I'm not going to spend there's no way I would spend more than $1,000 a month per location.
Is it mostly localized? You're looking for localized pay-per-clicks too? You're trying to have people, like if you're Ackworth location, you want basically 3 or 4 miles around Ackworth, and anything beyond that's worthless to you? Or
it's absolutely worthless to you, and I can prove it by looking at where we pull customers from. You're just not going to pull customers from 8, and I'm sure there's some people on here will go, oh no, I pull from 10 miles away. Well, you might, don't look at the real outliers. If you say, where's the bulk of my people coming from? They're coming from 2 to 3 miles, 2.5 miles from your location. So to spend a lot of money trying to be the dominant player in an entire city even is tough. It's hard to make sense of that. Mm-hmm. So you got to use the best use of your $1,000 or less online as you can get. I can tell you, I've seen guys spend $4,000 or $5,000. I can outperform them, or at least do as well, spending a fourth of what they spend, because I know that my customers they're not going to pass 6 shops on the way to mine on average. Now, you're going to get 1 or 2 that does, but I would hate to base my business decision off of one-offers. Mm-hmm. Your bulk is to get as close and tight to your location as humanly possible. I want to speak to what you put in the mailbox, because that too can be really confusing. You know, there's really 2 types of what I would call direct mail. There's direct mail, which is a postcard, or it's a letter. It's a standalone piece that goes in the mailbox. But you also have what's called shared mail. When I started out, I was trying to do shared mail because it was cheaper. Shared mail works really, really well. Unfortunately, shared mail is designed for coupon shoppers. So if you are looking for the lower end customer, and there are people out there that do, shared mail is the right answer for you. You should use it, because as long as you have the cheapest oil change, you're probably going to win in that market. Those are customers that will wait, you know, 2 or 3 hours for an oil change that they can save $3 or $4. You know, what I found though is that they weren't that loyal, and so if I raised my price $2 or $3, they went to Firestone or to Goodyear. Direct mail, and the only difference between the 2, direct mail costs more, but it's the only way that I can get to non-coupon shoppers. Direct mail goes in the envelope, it goes in the mailbox. All the coupon shoppers will still see it. So I get the advantage of seeing them if I want them, but I also get the non-coupon shoppers, people that are never going to tear open that envelope or dig through all those coupons. They're just somebody that just happens to see your ad and go, you know what, I've seen that picture of that guy and I like his building. I may go in there and get an oil change. That's a customer that will spend whatever they need to keep their car on the road. So just remember that when you're looking at shared mail and direct mail, I use direct mail only. Shared mail, to me, if I'm going to fill up my bays, it's not going to be with chronic coupon shoppers. You know, and the only thing worse than shared mail for chronic coupon shoppers is Groupon, which I wouldn't even put on here, because, you know, we tested that out when it first came out, and those guys are like coupon shoppers on steroids times 10. I mean, they're just unbelievable. So I use direct mail, and then I use my full market potential, which means every single month I'm going to mail the people within my 2 to 2.5 mile radius. The other thing that's on there is television and radio. Television and radio is a great source to use for brand building. Unfortunately, even me, I have several stores in a market, I will go broke building a brand. I couldn't give a crap about building a brand. I'm here to have customers in my shop. I don't want to spend money building a brand that I'll run out of money before it happens. I need customers in my shop, and my money's going towards direct response, which is direct mail, website, SEO, so that I can get cars in today. I can't explain to a technician that 2 years from now, because I'm on radio and TV, that I might have a brand. Plus, you're advertising again to people outside of your zone, which is that market potential of 2 to 2.5 miles. Just remember, if you dominate your 2.5 miles, you are going to have all the business that you can handle. And then the last one's referrals, which is obviously the best. You know, if a customer comes in off a direct mail piece or a website, pay-per-click, you make sure that you thank them and you ask them to recommend you. It's such a small thing, but it works. People will go, it doesn't matter how blown out you are, you always be humble and ask for more business.
Well, Greg, what are some of the mistakes? I know you talked about full market potential already. A lot of times people don't really hit their full market, but yet they want to, a lot of them don't understand they want to be a $100,000 shop, but yet they don't market like a $100,000 shop. What are some of the marketing quantities, the offers, the targeting, things that are critical for you to make sure that you do have success?
Well, in all marketing in my world is I got to have a return. And so unfortunately, shop owners have been screwed over so many times. I have myself. We get hit. If you're at a front counter, you get hit all day long with the local magazine, sponsoring Little League, everything. Everything comes to the front counter, and you feel guilty. And it usually starts out with, I'm a customer, and, we've got this, Little League game that we want you to sponsor. Well, there's $300, there's $400, there's football games, there's all. And so I call those donations. That's not advertising. When I look at advertising, I don't look at what I spend in advertising as an expense. If it's an expense, then I'll fire you. I don't want to use you. It's got to be a direct response, meaning if I give you money, I got to get a return on it this month, not next month, not 10 months from now. I got to get my money back this month. Does that make sense? So I think one of the first things that happens is the shop owner will think that, oh my God, I can't afford to do my full market potential because and they're looking at it as an expense, which is logical. Unfortunately, you never get your full potential. You can never get the best technicians. You can never have the service writers. You'll never be able to be busy first, hire people second. You've got to hire and be busy at the same time. So I hit my full market potential. If it's 8,000 customers, that's my ideal market potential, meaning all the good customers in the 2-mile area. In the first mile, I always mail 100%. Second mile, I mail most of them, but if there's some low income, I may cherry pick those and pull those out to keep my numbers within line. But my stores range from 12,000 up to 20,000 a month in direct mail. I think most people don't understand the absolute volume you need to really keep your shop busy. So that's probably one of the first things is really understanding full market potential, looking at it as a return on investment, and then not mailing closest to their store. I've been blown away by that, where people say, look, I want to do direct mail, but I want those customers from 4 miles away. Well, that's a basic misunderstanding of how to do direct mail. You always have to mail in the market you're in. And to give you a good example, I own a store in Daytona, Florida. I mean, the demographics are horrible around that store. They are 30,000, say 27,000 to 35,000, on average about 30,000. So, but we still mail, because all that means when you see low demographics, or if you're in a low demographic market, is that means it's an average or median, which means there's still high income people in a low income area, and the chances of you pulling in them versus trying to pull high income people 4 miles away is much better. You're not going to get people to drive on one side of the tracks, to drive on the wrong side of the tracks, to do business with you. So you've got to do business in the market you're in. And the thing, touching back to Daytona, just to give you hope, that store has never done below 100,000. We've owned it for a year now. The opening month it did 92,000, but that was a partial month. We've never done under 100,000 in a month since we've opened that store, and that's in a very low income climate because we are dedicated. Sometimes in the low income markets, there's no shops out there that do direct mail. They might do marriage mail, so you're only competing against yourself. There's nobody in the market. In the high income areas, you have national players out there that they want that market. So sometimes it's harder to pull customers in a higher income market. So the other thing is tracking, I think. When I look at how do I track my return on investment? I told you, if I spend money with you, I got to get a return this month. But that's not my full return. I look at direct mail like a dividend. once I invest, I want a return. So if I was to ask people on this phone call, and ask yourself this question, how many of your customers are regular customers, repeat customers? What percentage of your customers stay with you? And so I would say on average, you're probably around 75%. If you're a good shop, that means if somebody comes and sees you, there's a 75% chance they're going to come back. So one of the big things that shop owners look at is they go, well, my God, this customer is just a bottom feeder. They came in for an oil change. Which, newsflash, everybody needs an oil change. I need an oil change. But if you take care of me, I'm going to come back to you every single time. Well, what's my return over 3-4 years? How do I quantify that? We've gone back to look. It is amazing. Their first visit on average on direct mail is about $100. That means you're going to have some people just spend $25. Some people spend $400, but on average, about $100, $120. The next visit, it's $200. The next visit, it's whatever your average ticket average is in your shop. Mm-hmm. So we've shown over and over and over again that if you do full market potential and you're consistent and you don't treat people with an oil change on the first visit who's testing you out, as long as you treat them with respect and you take care of them, man, you just built your company. Look what's going to happen. So you see this big domino effect when you're consistent is now this customer that came in 6 months from now, they're coming back. They're going to spend double the money. 6 months after that, they're going to spend even more money. And just look at your own database. So just understanding how to track that, the worst thing you can do is to take an advertising, whether it's online or it's direct mail or any form of advertising, and apply the metrics of, well, all I'm going to do is add up these coupons because that's the only customers that came in, and I'm going to apply that to only this one given month. We know, and we have tools to show what customers have come in that didn't redeem a coupon. So we can show you where the customers came from. And part of that's having a recorded call, counting the calls that came in and having them recorded. So those are all.
And that's one of the questions, Greg, we just came in. It says, how do we quantify the efficiency of Mudlick if it's not a coupon?
Well, one of the things is before you do Mudlick Mail, or even if you're using Mudlick Mail now, I'll just tell you how I do it. I look at my trailing 3 months compared to last year. So right now it would be March, April, and May, right? And I would compare this year's March, April, May to last year's March, April, May. If I'm trending, let's say I'm trending flat, I'm just even to last year, and I start doing full market potential, even if I don't believe Mudlick Mail, I know that, wow, I've been flat for 3 months now, suddenly I'm up 10% in sales. You can only kid yourself so much. You can go, well, obviously that's what's happening, is that the direct mail, because you're going to have non-coupon shoppers. Also listening to the phone calls, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen. Unfortunately, this is a hard thing even to say, but from listening to thousands of phone calls of my friends out there, there's a lot of folks out there that believe their front counter people are saying yes to customers. Well, that front counter guy has been conditioned a lot of times to say no, turn people away. If you want to blow up the sales in your shop, you've got to say yes to customers. You have to be ready to go, ready to take care of customers. A customer that calls for an oil change or brakes or what, they don't want to wait 5 days. They want to come in right now. It's their day off. And so you have to make room for them. And so you can quantify it, even if you want to just look at it yourself, it's just look at sales. Did your sales go up, or are your sales still flat?
Yeah, and I think too, if you're with different marketing tactics for direct mail, if that's the question, we also have the database matching and the ROI tool where we can actually take the addresses that you physically mailed and compare it to the addresses that came in within the 30-day campaign period and determine how many new and existing customers came in, how much they spent. So that's a great way, combined with the call tracking number, where we actually have a local number on the postcard that collectively to help you give an idea how well it's going, in addition to checking out your trends. Greg, I had one last question before we move on to the next slide is, what do you think about advertising on the grocery store coupons?
Well, the question, I've done this before. You can try it. It's a horrible response. I mean, you're better off just saving your money. And I mean, think about it. How often have you used a coupon on the back of a grocery store receipt? And then you have to ask yourself, and just ask this to yourself, do you even remember what a coupon was on the back of a receipt? And what kind of customer is that would use a coupon on the back of a grocery store receipt? So I can say a lot of positive things about shared mail. That's a better route for you because that's a coupon shopper. You'd be better off to do that than to do grocery store receipts. You'd be better off to, probably do door hangers or something before you did a grocery store receipt. That's just been the worst return that I personally, that's probably one of the worst.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you guys, we get stories all the time. You guys are inundated with people and have great sales pitches. And I think if you lean to the fact that how do you physically walk me through how you're going to get your return on investment, that kind of helps you ferret out those problems. Greg, here's some samples of some different ads that are done, different uses. Just spend a couple quick minutes. I know 6x11 flat postcard is the main one you use. Talk a little bit quickly about these other ones, and we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay, but I do want to touch on just one thing real quickly on the mistakes that people make.
Okay.
Is that, and I see it across the board. If you want to blow up sales, get good at listening to your phone calls. You've got to listen to the calls. When I hear people say, oh, my sales are starting to drop off a little bit, first thing we do is listen to calls, and guess what you find out? Is that if you're not listening to calls and playing them for your teammates, if you're not holding yourself accountable to making sure that, yes, we're saying yes, and we're not rude to customers, and we really want their business, man, as an owner, you're just killing yourself. You're paying somebody to actually turn away customers. So I just wanted to touch on that because it's so critical. If you're going to do this, if you're going to ramp up sales, full market potential, you've got your SEO, you've got your website, everything ready to go. Now you no longer have to worry about cars. I guarantee you that. Well, but you will have to worry about saying yes to customers, and that's not easy to do. It's really hard to do when you're used to not dealing with a lot of customers.
And a question came in, SEO is the search engine optimization. That basically helps you be located on the website. What about, real quick, Greg, because we've got a couple quick questions that popped up here, billboards. Yeah. What do you think about billboards?
Billboards are great directions. If you have a billboard that is close by your store, or you've got a really crappy location and you got a billboard that can point you in a certain direction, that's great. But you always have to then ask yourself the question. That's all it is. It's a big sign. But would billboards give you a direct response, or is that building a brand? If you want to build a brand, use billboards. But it's not going to drive people into your shops immediately. We've done billboards in these cities. We've gone with them, without them. If we have a location that's a tough location, sometimes a billboard helps, but the location of the billboard sometimes is very hard to find.
Yeah, and I think with the fact that you can't change it out very often unless it's electronic, then electronic gets real expensive. So there's some definite pros and cons. I know one of the questions that came up just a few minutes ago, where we talked about 10 out of 10 technicians want a busy shop. If we staff enough technicians to always say yes to customers, they may not feel that we are busy enough. What's more important?
Well, if you do full market potential, if you advertise the area around your store, we've seen this. I think there's 2,200 shops out there we deal with. We don't hear that with people that are committed to full market potential. The bigger issue is that we're too busy. And so if you're struggling with car count, something is not right. We're in a market where you should be steamrolling right now. If you're not, somebody else is. And so you don't need to worry about the cars. If you do full market potential, you have a good SEO company, and you're tracking your performance, you're saying yes to customers, then you've got to sell everything and put the pressure on the back. You've got to overwhelm your shop with work. Once you overwhelm your shop with work, now you can add a technician. But you've got to overwhelm the team that's there. If you don't, then as soon as you hire a technician, another technician will quit. So the way it works. It's not easy, but if I told you it was easy, then I'd be selling you, some kind of training system.
Well,
but it's hard.
It is hard, and I tell you, if you guys get these systems down, you can be real successful. But I tell you, a lot of people don't bother to learn the systems, and so people on this call are really taking an opportunity to really learn. We're getting a lot of questions in here. Let me cover a couple quick ones, and we'll have to move on. What is the recommended percentage of sales to allocate towards your advertising budget?
Well, that's easy. The key is what kind of sales do you want? Because a lot of times people will allocate sales based on where they're at today. So in my stores, I'm running about 6-7% of sales of advertising dollars to my sales. Now, if you're tracking $60,000 and you need to be at 80, well, obviously you might have to run 10% of sales. But remember, direct response, the direct response is going to get you to 80. But you may not get you to 80, meaning you may not have the staff to get you to 80, but it's a delicate balance. You've got to do the advertising to have enough cars to overwhelm the back to hire more technicians. That's kind of the steps. So make sure that you're running somewhere between, and if you're a really high volume store, you may only have to run maybe 4 or 5%. But I just look at my full market potential, and I think if you do that, you'll go, wow, and Mudlick Mail can help you with this. I have the ability if I'm only hitting 60% of my market potential, if I hit my full market potential, then I should be able to go up X number of dollars. So I focus more on my market potential, not the percentage. But on average, I'm probably 6-7%.
This question will kind of put us right into the next slide, and then we'll get to these other questions. We're getting a lot of good questions. It says, do you get a better response from postcard marketing or custom gift card offerings? That kind of parlays us right into this. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you use these and where your response is?
Well, it's 2 different methods. I will tell you on a percentage basis, the gift cards just blow away anything else. Unfortunately, it doesn't blow away everything else if you just go for customer acquisition. And what that means is new customers. My workhorse, what I've been using and what works for people across the country is a 6x11 flat postcard. It's the least expensive. We do things like I will hit a saturated area around 2 miles around my store. Now, it will hit my regular customers too, which has always been fine with me, because if I take my regular customers out, now that's no longer a saturation mailing and the price goes up significantly. So some people get all lathered up about, well, yeah, it's hitting my regular customers. Well, so what? That's better that you stay in front of your customers too than Firestone staying in front of your customer, because eventually they may buy it. So you still want to stay in front of your customers. So that's my workhorse. Twice a year, and I will tell you this, the gift cards are a hard plastic gift card, and so it's a very heavy, meaning it's not paper, or cardboard, it's a heavy plastic, and the $25 card punches out. We tested it at our locations. We tested it at Mike Daniels locations in Dallas. We tested them in Houston. Unbelievable response. Now, the way you do the gift cards is we just went back in time. You can go back the last 2 years, and you can set a dollar amount and say, I only want to mail these cards to people in my database that have spent $100 or more, or $200 or more, or any $25 or more. It doesn't matter to me. I think we did $100 or more. And so we took that. So because these things are a lot more expensive, I think they're about $1 a piece. So they're not
96 cents.
So they're not a cheap deal, but you may only have 1,000 customers in your database that fit that description. The return off of it is unbelievable. I think on direct mail you can get a 3-to-1 return. On this, you'll probably get a 5-to-1 return. We got significantly better than that, but I don't want to tell people, hey, you should expect a 10-time return, because I don't have enough data to say that's going to happen, but I do have enough data to say if you are doing what I would do is do full market potential with the flat postcard first. If you're doing that and sales are starting to level out a little bit and you're going, hey, I need something to give me a push, I'm using the $25 gift card twice a year. So I've just done it in the month of June, and now I'm going to do it in December. And then we have a We Miss You card that's not up here because it's the exact same hard plastic, and it's a We Miss You card that we will hit once a quarter. And so what we do is take the last 3 years, and we take the last 3 years minus the most current 9 months. Mm-hmm. We don't mail to those 9 months, just everybody prior to 9 months. We're going back 3 years. If you go back further than that, a lot of those people have moved away or bought new cars or something. So we use the plastic card, and that's really my two heavy go-to pieces. And that's what, personally, that's what I love. And I like it better than a lot of my online maintenance reminders because I never feel enough of that. But when I hit these, I can gear my team up for it. They get real fired up because they know those are buyers. The $25 gift card, there's no oil change on it. They're regular customers, and they are buyers. Those are people that will spend money with you.
Yeah, for those of you, I know there's a couple of questions. How often do you send those gift cards out? I think a lot of it depends on your needs. I mean, you've sent out the special gift for you for people in the last couple of years. You sent out that for 2 months. You're now looking at people maybe farther back. We Miss You cards. So you could probably send this out quarterly.
Not the gift card. I would not. I mean, I'm only doing that twice a year.
So you got, what's your combination of?
Combination is the 2 gift cards twice a year, and then on the other 2 quarters you have the We Miss You card. So that's once a quarter. I think that's what you meant. But yeah. But we rotate it. So I don't think it has the same effect if you're trying to do the $25 gift card to your own database every month. I think then it's
too much.
It's too much. And so I wouldn't recommend it. I also wouldn't recommend that in lieu of hitting your 6 by 11, because the 6 by 11 is what is going to new customers as well as internal customers. So that's your customer acquisition. The $25 card and the We Miss You card is your customer retention. So that allows you to really hit online customer acquisition, online customer acquisition, the 6 and 11's customer acquisition, and then you have your gift card and We Miss You card that's customer retention.
Very good. And guys, we have a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to get to those questions, so hang in there with me. I want to get back to the slides real quick so we can keep going. We'll go kind of quickly over these last two because I'm trying to keep this up. We've already really talked about shared mail, direct mail, and TV radio. That comes up a lot. Just maybe a quick summation on these, and then we'll move on to the retention pieces.
Well, there's a lot of studies right now with even national chains, both in automotive and outside, where, the TV and radio, and a lot of it isn't that it wouldn't work that well, is that it's been so diluted that it's very hard to be on the right station at the right time, hit the right message, and it's so expensive. So I still believe TV and radio works. I think it's more of a branding. It's not a, hey, it's going to drive sales into your shop next month. There have been very few examples of that, of being able to drive business quickly. If you had this enormous budget and you wanted to do that in addition to direct mail, that's fine. But personally, I don't think that's where I would spend my money. And I don't think if you're in a market where I'm at, you'll see that I spend any money with TV and radio. So I think the others in shared mail, we talked about that.
Let's go on because I want to keep everybody. We're already at 4:45, guys. You've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to start moving a little bit through these slides, and then those that want to stick around, we'll answer some questions, Greg, if you'll stick around a little longer.
Happy to.
Let's talk a little bit about the customer retention because I know we had some questions about loyalty programs. Well, walk us through some of the retention pieces that you do.
Well, you can see them on here, and I think they're pretty basic, the same as what a lot of people probably do, is the service reminders. The We Miss You card is really an upgrade from my old We Miss You card. Missed sales, we do a lot of our missed sales, we do that on a callback basis, not on a database mailing. But we have found that if you do too many mailings on missed sales, in other words, let's say you miss a sale and then you send out a direct mail piece saying, hey, we'll give you a discount, you could really train your customers that, hey, just turn it down, and in a week you're going to get 20% off that missed sale. So I've played around with that, and I don't like that we're training our customer that. So but we do the basic service reminders. I like to use email for that too. You know, and that's something we haven't talked a lot about, and that's something Mudlick Mail can handle for you, is the email marketing. Emails used to be, it's kind of like the internet. I thought that was going to be the answer, and I'll tell you, I was one of the first on there to do it, and it used to be. We would get a great return. You know, you can measure how many opens you get and all of that stuff. Well, over the years, what happened is, and I'm guilty of it too, but Staples is still freaking guilty of it, and a lot of other companies, where if you're doing an email blast every week, man, nobody's opening that thing. You know, so we know we only do one email blast. We do it the last week of every month, one email blast. Don't do it 2, 3, 4 times in a month, because what you're doing is you're just pissing off your customers. Nobody wants to see that. I haven't opened a Staples email in years because every time I walk in the place and leave, I have an email waiting on me. So they've trained us, and we're all trained now to just delete stuff like that. But when we first got it, everybody wanted to see, wow, look at these emails. Those days are gone. But I still like to use it, but sparingly, for offers or for reminders. And in social media, we have, you know, we do the Facebook deal. I've seen people kill themselves on social media. There's been a lot of reports out there. I know Ford came out with a report that said we can't find any way of saying, we can't prove that we've gotten any improvement by advertising on social media. Now, Facebook evolves. I think they're trying, and they're constantly, so I wouldn't say what I say today is static. I know they're trying to find ways of getting more people, and I hope they do, because I'd love to have another vehicle. But right now, I mean, just I've been on a lot of people's websites that have asked me to join with them, and, you know, when they put something out there, they get 2 likes, you know, 2 or 3 likes on their deal. That just shows you that people are not running to go, wow, that's something I want to do. You don't see a lot of retention or a lot of redemptions off of things. So even when you work really hard at it, I would value the time. I'd say, again, whether it's Mudlick Mail or Kukui or DemandForce or somebody like that, handle that. As an owner, you don't, if you're spending time on any of this stuff, meaning you're over there, you know, trying to figure out what to put out there on social media, or if you're doing some kind of, you know, shop newsletter, things like that, those are the things actually killing your business. You know, you should be focused on, you know, teaching your team how to take care of customers the way you want them taken care of. And you can't do that if you don't have enough cars in the shop. So we just got to make sure that you guys are getting the very best advertising possible out there so that you can do that.
Loyalty programs, we're going to go into a little bit more detail, but I think overall you can agree it can cost more, 6 to 7 times more to acquire a new customer. So retaining them, whether it be the processes and systems operationally you have in your store, or the way we retain those guys as far as staying in front of them monthly, is really important. The next slide really just talks about some samples, guys. This is just some ideas, some popular retention campaigns for you guys that you could think about using. We're going to have this presentation up on our website later today or tomorrow, so you guys will get some ideas on that. I want to move more into some of the loyalty and reward programs you use at your store, Greg.
Well, the big ones are right here. The gift card we've already talked about. We also put key tags on everybody's car that comes in. Now, the only thing that's different is I put a number on the key tag, a small number beside where the little eyelet hole is there, and that number is 1 through 30. That matches my 1 through 30 key tag board where I put the keys once somebody turns it in. So that way when they come back in, I don't have to keep putting a new one on there, or if it has one, I can use, if it says number 1, I'll put it on key tag 1. If it says 30, I'll put it on 30. So it just saves me a step. This is an easy, simple one, and we get a lot of them. My favorite one is the oil changes. We do 5 oil changes. I don't really care what price you put on it. I think we have $79.95. Some of our stores are $99.95, depending on the market. You know, oil changes is just a way of life. You know, I used to hate them, but I've learned that that's just, we got to do oil changes to get the good customers to come in for the other services. But what I love about the 5-packs is that especially with oil changes now, with longer intervals, it used to be every 3,000 miles. Now it's 5,000 and above. So by doing an oil change, whether it's a regular or high mileage or a synthetic 5-pack, I've locked that customer in for 2.5 years on out to 5 or 6 years. They're going to come to me. If I mess up, they're still going to come back to me, and I'm going to have a chance to fix it. Plus, when they buy one oil change, or when they buy a 5-pack, I'm only doing one oil change today. So if you have a cash flow problem, sell 100 of these. You're going to put about, if you're $79.95, you're going to put about $6,000 in the bank in the first month. So nothing's as good as the first 6 months of doing these, because you're getting $99 a day or $79, whatever the number is, but you're only doing one oil change today on this. You're not going to do another oil change on this for 5 months.
Well, and you guys, this is a big program for Greg. He actually tracks this at his individual stores. There is information on the Mudlick Mail Learning Center about the 5-pack oil changes, some other samples, as well as the key tag shop boards samples. These are just some of these, and Greg has done a bunch of other webinars that talk about operationally how he uses these key tags and shop boards as well. So any parting thoughts on loyalty?
Well, this is so important to us that we pay $5 on every one of the 5-packs that are sold at the store. We pay it to the salesperson that sold it. So a salesperson can come to work and know, hey, I can make a quick 10 or 15 bucks today. All I got to do is sell 2 or 3 of those. For a shop owner, it becomes one of the best profit centers that they have, because if they sell 3 of these, that's 250 bucks, that's sales. That's 250 bucks in net. So it's a big change when you start thinking, wow, if I could sell 2 or 3 of these a day, that totally changes my picture. And a lot of small business owners, man, $200 or $300 a day of cash flow is an amazing difference. And guess what? You don't have to pay a technician on this. When they come back, this person's going to have a free oil change, so they're more likely to spend money on repairs that a technician's going to get. So it becomes a positive, and you can build a relationship. It's my favorite one by far.
Let's move on. And guys, I know you have a lot of questions. I'm not ignoring you guys. I know we're getting close to 5 o'clock, so I want to get the bulk of the webinar completed, and then we'll go through those questions. Again, everybody's on mute only, so hang in there. You can type in your question at the bottom. We've got 2 more slides left to go here before we get into questions. Marketing consistency. You've touched on a lot of these things already. Let's talk about how important that is.
Well, you know, this is what I said to begin with, is that this is how I market. This is exactly my plan. If yours varies, I can't speak for it, but I use direct mail as my workhorse. I mail that every single month and have for 25 years. And I don't ever miss a month. To miss a month to me would be like writing off that month. I am going to drive sales every month. That's my goal. I do emails once a month, just like I said. So I take my full market potential, the direct mail, and I divide it by the first 3 weeks. And if you're not doing market potential, there's no reason to divide it. That's not, you're not going to have enough horsepower. If you do your market potential, divide it by 3 weeks, and in the 4th week, do an email blast. That gives you a consistent flow of customers every week where you can take care of them. You know, the database mailing we talked about, once a quarter. 2 of them are the customer service or the customer appreciation cards. The other 2 are the we miss you cards. Those are going to be your best hit. You're going to fall in love with them, but I will warn you, if you try to mail those outside of your database, the return is exactly the same, because I've tried. And if you mail these more often to your customer base, you're going to lose the effect. And these things at 96 cents a piece, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. So the return is off the charts. I would highly recommend it if you're in a good place where you can do it. And then we talked about social media, which we do something twice a week where we post stuff. I don't do it myself, so that's really up to Kukui that does that. The paid searches, we set up how much we're willing to spend a day on the paid searches, and I just review it quarterly. I always look at that as kind of along with my direct mail. So that's just assuring that I've got my online presence, I've got my customer acquisition, and I have my customer retention. Now let's go make money. That's how I do it.
Well, I love the fact that marketing for you is a checkbox that should be done, and the majority of the time of the owner is spent where?
It should be just spent teaching, training, and hiring. If you don't have a technician, well, if you're spending time, writing emails on Facebook versus out looking for a technician, there's something real. I mean, I think logic has to prevail here to go, I don't want to sit down every month and jack with this marketing. All I want is cars coming through the door. And so that's what I expect. And if I didn't get it from Mudlick, I'm sorry, but I would fire Mudlick. If I didn't get it from Kukui, I'd fire Kukui. But I'm getting cars. And if you're not getting cars, then there's something wrong with the recipe. The other thing is, on all the things we talked about, if you don't use the right messaging, for example, if you said, hey, I hate oil changes, so I'm going to charge $49 for an oil change. Well, then just save your money. Don't do direct mail, because I don't want you to get pissed off and say, Greg didn't turn me right. Think about the logic behind this. What we do with our direct mail, what I believe is, if people ask me how do I get the price, I charge $2 more an oil change than Firestone. So if you look in your market and Firestone $16.95, charge $18.95. The reason for that is I know the hardcore coupon shopper will go to Firestone instead of me for $2. That's the person that's going to beat the hell out of you, and I've had my beatings when it comes to that. I don't really want that customer, so I'm going to be $2 higher, so that when somebody's bringing an oil change, I know that they had a choice. They could have went to Firestone for $2 less, but they chose me. So that means they're not a bottom feeder. They chose me at $19.95 or $18.95 versus the $16.95. But if you do $39.95, it's kind of like the logic of going to a Mexican restaurant, and a Mexican restaurant starts charging you $10 for chips and salsa. And you go, well, nobody in town charges for chips and salsa. And they go, yeah, but boy, we got the best fajitas. I would tell them, well, I'm never going to know that because I'm leaving, because you're charging me $10 for chips and salsa. And they might say, well, only bottom feeders come in here and eat chips and salsa. It's ridiculous. We have to get over that stigma. That's what's hurting a lot of shop owners, is that they don't want to face the facts that, hey, it's just a one-step process. You're going to do an oil change, but the next time they're going to do repairs with you. And yeah, there's some isolated cases where people will only use an oil change. Well, what about the other people that used you for everything? So you always have to look at the big picture.
Well, let's close up with the track and measures, because I know that you're a big analytical guy. Talk a little bit about how we're tracking and measuring all this.
Well, I've talked about coupon counting. Now, if you're after a coupon shoppers, use marriage mail, count the coupons, very easy. If you're using direct mail, then you have to remember the only difference is the non-coupon shoppers are going to see you. The coupon shoppers are really what I call the byproduct of what we're really trying to get, which is the non-coupon shoppers. Then if you don't trust the metrics that we use, meaning we have an ROI or a tool that goes out there and pulls where you pulled everybody, database match. If you don't want to believe that, then look at your trailing 3 months. Remember we talked about that. Am I trailing up or down versus last year? And when I do my full market potential and I do my SEO, everything the way I'm supposed to do it, am I tracking up? I mean, in 6 years, we just don't hear people saying, well, we've done all that and we're still tracking down. Then there's a higher problem, and it's usually at the front counter. So, the sales, we just talked about that. The paid search conversion is very easy to track online, and you'll get an update, whether it's Demandforce, Kukui, or whoever you use to do that. Even a local guy can give you the return, how many people have come in. I'm a big believer on tracking car count and recognizing performance for car count, and I hope the shop owners listen to this, because it's probably one of the biggest life changers for me. And I've talked about it, I've written about it, but the industry is predisposed to talk about ticket average. And the reason why the industry talks about ticket average is because it's so easily manipulated. Some guy says, I got a $300 ticket average, another guy will say he has a $400 ticket average. But if they're doing 40s or 50s in sales, who cares what their ticket average is? I don't pay bills with ticket average. If I focus on ticket average, my front counter people are going to turn away these customers because they're going to be afraid that it's going to be a small ticket. So if you want to drive car count, make sure that something in your bonus plan for your front counter people involves beating last year in car count. And guess what you're going to find out? That you have the ability to have a lot more cars, and you will stop turning away cars. And I know it's hard for people to believe that they're turning away cars, but 100% of the time, is this not true? When we have checked and somebody's struggling, all you got to do is listen to their calls, and guess what we find out? Not 99% of the time, but 100% of the time, the front counter people are turning away customers. And what I mean by that, if you're not saying is now a good time to bring in your vehicle, if you're telling somebody to come in 3 days, that's saying no to a customer. If you're telling them to come in next week, that's saying no to a customer. If you're not getting their name and phone number, type of car, you're saying no to a customer. It just doesn't make sense to advertise and then have people at the front counter saying no. I mean, we have to break that cycle.
Yeah, and guys, there's a lot of, as we wrap up this webinar, there's some more great information about, and Greg did a webinar just about how saying yes and the importance of that. And so it all plays a part of the marketing. When you spend all that money to drive people in, if you don't have the back-end process to support it, it will definitely impact you. Let's quickly jump, this is kind of the combination to ease your mind, right? I mean, we do postcards, emails, gift cards, social sharing. You add that together, you put it in the checkbox, and boom, you're off and running.
If you want to do, the full market or the full potential of the store and not worry about car count, this is exactly, and every one of those should have an immediate return on investment. So it's not, I can't afford it today, so I'll do it in 6 months. It's what are you losing by not doing it, because you should have an immediate return. You just have to think that way.
We're going to jump into questions. There's a bunch of questions, guys. It's 5 o'clock, and I hate to hold people over long. We had gotten just a tremendous amount of questions. I just left this slide on here, guys. If you guys don't know, we're one of the very few companies that offers an affordable monthly payment plan. So if you've ever had some struggles to get started, the qualifications are very, very easy. It's really a payment plan, not a loan. There's some great financing options here, payment plans, very flexible discounts, all kinds of great things. So if you have some interest in direct mail and you've never been able to get started, this will solve that for you. You can get a lot of information on our website for that. So let me just try to answer a couple of these questions. We had a lot of these questions come in. So we'll cover a couple of these real quick, guys, before we sign off. Greg, how do I handle service advisors that think they are always too busy and want to schedule everything?
Well, you have to incentivize them by car count, which is something I just touched on. If you incentivize them on car count, if you incentivize them, you can break it down by the day. If last year you averaged, 15 cars a day, then you tell them that, hey, 25% of your bonus is going to be on your ability to get more cars in per day. So you make sure that there's something incentivizing them to say yes to customers.
The follow-up to that is one guy says, hey, they're so busy right now, he's not sure how he can take in every vehicle and get them done in a reasonable amount of time. I know that comes up a lot.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that you're not going to be busy in 6 months. And the customers that you turn away now are going to be your broke cars in 6 months. So if you want to eat like a king in the summertime and starve in the wintertime, then that's the way to go about it. You've got to be willing to say, hey guys, if we're so busy, and everybody has a different idea of what so busy is. For example, we've got customers that do 5 million in sales in stores that are 16 bays, or maybe it's more like 20 bays. But a lot of so there's some guys that they're blown out at 100,000 in sales. It's all relative. So maybe add some more people, but the option is not to turn away a customer, because that customer you're turning away, do the math on this. That customer you turned away, what if 3 out of 4 of those are going to stay with you? How much are they going to spend with you over the next 3 or 4 years? $3,000, $4,000, $5,000? So when you say no to those 3 customers, you just turned away maybe $15,000 in future repairs, because once you turn them away, they're not coming back. They're going to tell you forget it. So it's very important that you suck it up and say yes to customers.
Good answer. Good question, guys. One of the questions that comes in, and I'm getting as many of these as I can, and they are rolling in now. Do you guys send the postcards to businesses or just residential? I was wondering if any other shops finding out there that I am direct mailing people, they'll start to do the same thing. Well, I can answer that one for you, Greg. we don't do businesses, guys. A lot for the reason why this gentleman is saying there's just a very low return for businesses, so we have screened those out. So yeah, no worries. We definitely do not hit businesses. Greg, what are your thoughts on handing out coupons while the customer's there? The coupon would be there for different services, hopefully to bring them back.
You can do that. I'm not opposed to that. I've seen people that do a pretty good job with it, but I'm not opposed to that. I think it's a nice thing to do.
One of the questions is, what works best on your ads? Oil changes, brake jobs, what else, etc.
Your number one return is always going to be oil change. And as an example, it's only because, or the reason is because everybody needs an oil change, and most people in a parking lot, or a lot of people in a parking lot is due for an oil change. But how many of them need brakes? You're still going to get the brakes. So we put more than one oil change, or we put more than one coupon on there. We put an oil change always as a staple, but then we put things like brake jobs or alignments, really more to tell people that we do it. Because if they don't need it today, I want them to think about us as more than an oil change place. We're a full-service auto repair, so we make sure that they know that we really do everything.
And what are your thoughts on changing monthly themes on the postcard? Should they always look the same?
Yes, I hate it when people change to monthly themes, because what you're doing is you think that people are getting bored with your ad. They're not. If you look at, don't just take my word for it. Look at like the Container Store, or gosh, there's a lot of national chains, a lot of from Carnival Cruise, all those ones, Ford dealership, they will. The consistency is what's there, because if you're not needing that product today, you're not using it because it's not a certain type of ad. But every time you change your theme, especially as a small business person or even as a national chain, you change your theme a lot, and people will never recognize you because it doesn't trigger in their subconscious. They need to see the same or very similar ad. I change my ads only when the season changes, and very little. I just change the offer. Maybe I take off. In the summertime, I'm advertising air conditioning check. In the wintertime, I'm advertising check engine light. That's about the gist of it. I don't like to make very many changes for that reason. You're going to get a better return by being very, very consistent.
One of the questions was, you talked a little bit about this. How do you figure full market potential?
Well, it's very easy. The first thing, and there's two ways to go about it. You can pull your database. Mudlick Mail can pull your database and actually map out where you're pulling your customers from. But I can tell you where you're pulling from. It's, for the most part, it's going to be 2 to 2.5 miles. And then we look at your incomes. We know we always 100% of the time mail your 1 mile. You don't ever want to skip that 1 mile, because that's going to be your best return. Remember, there's still high-income people in a low-income mile. So and those are your best return. And then you're going to look at your second mile, and if you've got some real low incomes that are out there at 1.6, 1.8 miles, I might skip those, but I'm going to go for the best in the second mile.
Okay, one of the questions was, and guys, you guys are rolling in the questions, so you got a few minutes, Greg?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have to do a 1995 oil change to make it work?
Well, if you look at the $10 off, we tried that, and we've gotten a lot lower response off the $10 off. I don't know why. I've seen Jiffy Lube do $5 off signature oil change. I've seen but the return isn't there. I've seen them go right back to and they're an oil change place. So the cool thing about 1995, or if it's, we have some stores that are $29.95 in Texas, and it's because that market is a $29.95 market. We just want to be in the ballpark, and a consumer knows, hey, I'm going to go in there, and this is what my price is. It's also hard to train people if you're changing your price a lot, and we've seen that with shop owners, and we have that. We have different prices for oil changes depending on the market or the city. So by saying $19.95 or $29.95, it is what it is. So that's been what's worked best for me.
What do you put on your We Miss You card? $10 off an oil change?
No, on the We Miss You card right now, I'm putting a $50 off, $50 or more, which I know what some of you are thinking is, holy crap. Remember, these people have fired us. They have not come back. And so by putting an amount, now I'm not hitting people that have only done an oil change. I'm hitting people who spend $100 or more. So I've done something wrong, and they're not coming back. So I figure $50 is the most aggressive ad that I do, because these people have decided after 9 months, you could go a year back if you want to, but for 9 months, they've obviously gone somewhere else to get an oil change or to get some kind of maintenance, and I want to win them back. Great questions.
What is your opinion about a buy 4, get 1 free LOF program?
I don't really have an opinion. It's very similar to the 5 for $79.95. If you want to do 4, get 1 free, and I'm sure that will work probably just as well.
I think the key there, guys, is that you guys are you're locking in people for extended periods of time.
That's what matters, and you're building cash flow, big time cash flow.
Do you ever market specifically to local businesses? If so, which ad mediums are used?
No, I'm more for my business, where I like to put stores is around neighborhoods. We do have a store that's in a business area, but they still pull from the markets, from the 2.5 miles. They tend to live close by, and then word of mouth will pull from further away. But I don't really market to the businesses, because a lot of the big businesses, if you see how their mail comes in, they're never seeing those. Those are just gone. It just depends on how their mail service is, but I chose not to do that. So I wouldn't be able to give you good advice on that.
And I will tell you guys, just from a marketing standpoint, we do have the ability to mail into businesses. We've had folks ask us, hey, I want to grow fleet accounts. We can target specific fleet accounts, landscapers, pool companies, typical companies that have a lot of vehicles. But what I will caution you on is a lot of times those guys are already using somebody, and so it's not an immediate return. So that's more of a kind of a where you're kind of trying to get your name out and kind of hope that there might be some opportunity down the road. So can we hit them? We can. Is there immediate return? There's not. But if you stay consistent, you might get lucky. And like Greg said, in the office building, unless that person specifically has a mailbox assigned to them in the office, because a lot of people want us to hit like universities or hospitals. If they have a box, they'll get a card. But a lot of times, like Greg mentioned, it goes to a department or a general mailbox, and in that case, it never really makes it to the end user that you're looking for. Really good questions. Another question is, are you talking about gross profit dollars on your ROI ratios? I think to answer that question, Greg, I mean, when you talk about a return on investment, so if you spent $3,000,
right?
For you on a 3-to-1. That is for you to have sales of $9,000.
Right. I'm looking at the sales, because I can't control what you charge for gross profit. Everybody varies a little bit, but I would say if you spend $3,000, you should get $9,000 back in sales, which means you should probably make, if you have a decent gross profit, somewhere around $3,000 off of that.
And I will tell you guys that there's short-term and long-term profitability with that. And so Greg's pretty adamant. That's why he consistently mails existing customers when he does his marketing, because you may get just a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 return initially, but then once you've locked that customer in, long-term profitability. So if an average automotive customer is going to spend $800-900 with you annually, if they may spend $100 or $200 that first time, maybe it's $50. But once they're in there, long-term profitability kicks in. So your ROI actually will grow exponentially as you continue to market. So that's a really great question. Greg, do you use coupon magazines?
No, I don't. And the reason why I don't, they would work, but remember, that's really going after the hardcore coupon shopper. Ultimately what I'm really after is the person that doesn't use my coupon. I just get coupons as a byproduct of what I'm sending out there. There are going to be coupons shoppers that see it, but I'm not actively going after the chronic coupon shopper. They're just too hard to make happy, and they're not loyal.
Well, and I'll tell you guys, we'll have one more question here, and I know I'm glad some folks, we have a lot of people still here. We do have the ability, one of the questions was, can you share your missing child card and gift, or your missing cards? We miss you cards and gift cards that Greg uses. Absolutely. Those are on the website. Again, Greg mails out the Miss You cards twice a year, and he'll mail out the special gift card, special gift for you, twice a year as well. So he does 2 different versions of the credit card, gift card. That information is available on our website. You can also call your local sales rep, and they'll help you with that. One of the last questions then, and we'll wrap up, is do you segment your lists, and can you have a rolling campaign for your list? That's actually a good question. I'll answer that for you if you don't mind, Greg. Is if you guys do have people that you're currently mailing and you want to see where they're mailing and you want to have a campaign on, let's say, like Greg will do is he'll say, hey, I want to do the We Miss You cards to people who have not been in the last 9 months but have came in for service in the last 3 years. And so whether you're looking, whether this is a question in regards to gift cards, we can segment that data, determining who's coming in, how much they've spent, when they've last come in. We can also ensure that these guys are only getting cards once, so we can dedupe and delete guys out of certain list mailings or database mailings so that they're only getting a specific offer one time. So hopefully that answers your questions. Guys, I'd love to keep everybody on here. The database mailing question you have, sending maintenance reminders out or not, I think, Greg, on maintenance reminders, you do that via email? Right,
mostly via email because of the way I do my We Miss You cards and our gift cards. I'm sorry.
Well, and guys, a lot of great information, a lot of good questions. Thanks for the hundreds of you guys that stuck around here beyond 5 o'clock. We're going to have more of these. This webinar will be posted on our Learning Center here. As you can see, you can have access to a wealth of free tools and resources. Greg's got webinars on front desk resources, budget planning, operations, coupons, video tutorials. There's all kinds of webinars on there, guys. If you have more questions that we didn't get to, please go to info@mudlick.com. I know it's misspelled there on there, so I apologize. It's mudlick.com, Mudlick Mail. Give your local sales rep a phone call, and we'd be happy to help you. Even if you're not currently doing business with Mudlick Mail, we want to serve you guys, so don't hesitate to call us. There's a lot of customers we work with who might not be ready for normal direct mail. They want to get involved in some other way. We can work with just about everybody to help you grow your business. We appreciate your time. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. This has just been a blast. I love this. I hope that we were able to help some people. I'd love to hear back, especially if you use the gift cards. I would love you to drop an email to the guys at Mudlick Mail or Tim and let me know how that went. We just had an enormous return off of that. So I'd love to hear back from you guys.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. You all have a great night. Again, thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.